take you from meeting people to
making money.
networking can hurt.
It can be very painful.
It can. You know, some people, if you're into sports, which if you're in Texas, you better be, feel that if there's no pain, there's no gain.
Right.
Right? Would you say that truth applies to networking?
Not at all.
Really?
Yeah. Because I think people are just so scared up front when you hear that someone's like painful, networking is painful. They're so scared that they kind of lose, they lose the momentum. They're lost.
Okay. Well, fair enough. So we're going to talk about how networking is painful to some people, why it's painful, and then let's give some tips on how we can at least mitigate some of that pain.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I love this topic. I'm glad you came up with it because, again, we do see so much of that happening in the networking events. And I think, Cheryl, there is an easy solution. Let's get drill down.
That's right. So if networking feels painful to you, this is a great episode because this isn't something that I know, Rob, you said I came up with it. Actually, this came from one-to-ones that I've been having with people. So networking can feel painful, but it doesn't have to be painful, right? It should be more fun.
Oh, absolutely. It's the opportunity of meeting new people.
Yep.
It's an opportunity to get you out there. It's an opportunity to learn and grow. There's so many positive things about networking that I just love.
Well, but you're also gregarious. So consider who you are. Is everybody like you?
Well, good point. Yes, we have to kind of strike to the introverts, right?
That's right. Because I was just meeting with somebody who you saw in the lobby here. We were chatting. She said she's painfully introverted. Didn't even know we were going to be doing this today. Painfully introverted. So
wow.
I'm going to ask you this question. How can networking be painful? Let's assume they're not like you.
Okay.
For the painfully introverted, how can networking be painful?
Well, I think I think it can be exhausting.
Yes.
It can really wear you down. And I think that what does discourage a lot of people is that the other side is again, it's that fear factor, and that fear factor is draining. And you kind of put yourself into a cocoon where you're just afraid, and it's wearing, it's exhausting, and then why do I want to network?
Yeah, I think that's true. So for those who are painfully introverted, it is exhausting, emotionally taxing. Now, for you and me, I'd say you more than me, when you're gregarious, when you love being around people, like you just can't wait. Like that's what gets you out of the bed every morning. Well, it can be exhilarating.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So let's help take the painfully introverted from exhausted to exhilarated. How about that?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, so that's the purpose of this next few minutes.
Okay.
All right. I feel too, and this came out of several one-to-ones, people saying, oh my gosh, networking's so painful. So we're going to certainly talk about how we can mitigate this and then who's most at risk so that we can help identify others. If we're not in that camp,
right.
We can help identify others and help them kind of come out of that. So I feel like networking's painful too in the pocketbook.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you ever run into that with other people that are new to networking that are like, man, this is hurting me financially?
Well, yeah, all the time. And again, one of the, I learned this from you is just the fact that you've got to, and that's where I always have the opportunity to send them to your calendar because there are so many free events out there that, especially from your side, is that you vetted these events out. And so that people really can go there. It's free. It's going to be a quality group. They're going to walk away with something that's greater than when they got there. So
that's right. So tip, if you want to go to the letter M, poweredadvantage.com. You'll find my DFW B2B events.
Yep.
Some of those are online though, so they're not nationwide. They're nationally, in some cases globally. But that can help mitigate some of that, the exhaustion and the pain. But I love those events, and not every event can be free. Sometimes we charge too.
Yeah.
But free is for me, give me 3.
There you go.
Free is for me, give me 3. Because then you can sort through it, determine whether or not that's a good fit, and then follow those people that you're affiliating yourself with, that you feel there's an affinity there, and go to those events that work for them too.
Right.
Then your free visits are over. You can determine then when to put your money down. But man, I was talking to somebody who was new to networking the other day, and they said, Cheryl, I haven't gotten any leads. It's been 11 months. I'm on my own now as a consultant, and it's bankrupting me. Yeah. Like, he had a family to take care of. He's thinking, what else can I do? And I totally get that. I understand that pain point. So, I made a note here, and I know you can see that. Feels like a zero-sum game. When I wrote that, what did you interpret that to mean?
Well, again, it's just the fact that when you don't get any results, I mean, and I hear that so often, which is kind of disappointing, because we want everyone to make sure that networking, they're gaining, and again, I guess we put too much emphasis sometimes on the dollar amount, where it could be the people we meet that becomes very important as well. But, step number 1 is we got to make money.
Yeah.
And we've got to get rid of that zero.
Yeah. Well, so getting out of that zero-sum game situation really comes from, and we'll talk about this more in depth, is what you're talking about, aligning yourself with good people, but also working through the processes. Go back to some of our episodes, which really give you processes step by step on how to take this from meeting people into the making money, because that's what we're talking about here. Because it can be very painful when you're like, oh my gosh, this is my 10th networking event this week, and I got nada, right? But some of that, I think it's on us, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think, Cheryl, it goes back to, networking with purpose.
Yeah.
Rather than just walking into the networking room, we rush there to get there, our mind's someplace else, really. We're not prepared for it. So I think we've got to step back here, slow down, and network with purpose, where we've analyzed that meeting we're going to. It's the simple thing of, like, who's the host of this event? Like if with your event, Mid-Market Professionals, if someone's coming there, they should go right to you, that very thing. Hey, Cheryl, so good to see you. Happy to be here at Mid-Market. Yeah. And that lets the tension down. And then you're going to take over and introduce them to somebody. Yeah. So I think it's just so important to do that.
Yeah, instead of being intimidated, instead of letting that pain take over.
Right.
So another point I put on here, being overwhelmed with connections.
Yeah.
Do you ever get there?
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah, absolutely. It can be, you go to one of your events again, and you've got 50, 60 people there, and boom, boom, and hi, Rob, hi, Rob, hi, Rob, hi, Rob, hi, Rob. Yeah, it's a little overwhelming.
It is. And sometimes my calendar gets so full, I'm like, buddy, pal, friend, I'm working about 10 weeks out now. But it just, you have to be okay with it. You have to work through the process. So when you have a process in place, it helps you to be more effective and efficient with that too. So how do you handle, so if somebody's really experiencing a painful networking situation, when they feel that connections aren't responding, what would you tell them?
Well, I think what I would do when, connections not responding, I would be very proactive and say, let me take you to lunch. Let's have a cup of coffee. I've got something important to tell you. I've got a great idea I want to share with you. I need your feedback on this. Yeah. Get them involved. And then make sure that it's important. This meeting's important to me, and make them feel important.
That's good. Now, you hit on something, too, that they're important, but maybe they aren't important, right? So just because a connection's not responding doesn't mean you need to chase it. Now, sometimes you should.
No, that's a great point there, because, again, that weeds out, right?
That's right. So I say, hey, as much as we talk about this, 9 out of 10 people won't follow up. And if they do, it's a very small amount of follow up, right? I might not even ever talk to them again, even if
Right.
they follow up a little initially.
Right.
So with that, you just have to be okay with it and say, hey, the cream will rise to the top, but you have to identify. So to your point, I'm going to go back to that. Identify who is a great potential
Right.
synergy partner, lead source for you, because you're selling through that person, not to that person. And then go cultivate that. So when we're talking about budget, and if networking's painful, I say don't offer up coffee or lunch. I know you got an unlimited pocketbook because you're the money man. But for those who are just trying to work through this, I say take them to another event.
Yeah.
Like say, hey, I got a great event. And then drag that person to an event, because that's a great value proposition that you bring to
Right.
that person. Now you're elevated in their mind,
Yeah.
right? So if you want to get connections to respond, try taking them to other events that bring value.
That's a great, I love that idea.
All right. So let's talk about who's most at risk.
You know, I liked your points, you know, like when you talked about new networkers, you know, because again, this whole game is absolutely new to them. But I wanted to add one more thing
Okay.
to your list.
Okay.
And see what you think.
Yeah.
And it is who's most at risk. How about experienced networkers?
That think they know it all. That's good.
Or just the fact that, again, just like you had said earlier, 11 months later, 12 months later, they've got nothing. Now they're discouraged, they're disillusioned, they're going, oh my God. So they're at risk.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So those who let the pain kind of overwhelm them, instead of going back to the basics and reaching out to somebody who is experienced to get some mentorship.
Yeah.
That's good. I feel like because we've been talking to a lot of universities, that recent college grads really are feeling that. They just haven't learned the communication or the conversation skills
Yeah.
that are necessary. And with that, this kind of falls along those same lines. Don't you know a lot of people who are making career pivots? I mean, tons. I think it's going to be even greater as we see maybe some economic upheavals in some industries, right? That happens. It's just part of life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would say in the last few months, I've been kind of shocked at a lot of these experienced professionals that are, you know, either getting laid off or tired of their job and need a change. It's like, wow, the numbers are kind of big.
Outsized, upsized, downsized, wrong size, whatever that is.
It's kind of shocking.
So,
Especially here in Dallas, where the economy is sort of booming, or we read about it, it's booming and so on. But there's a lot going on that we don't hear about.
There is, or you just do it by choice because you're like, hey, you're like me, and you're like, yeah, no, not buying into that. So I need to get out because I don't want to be there and support that, whatever that is.
Right.
So with that, the networking pain can be really harmful. It can hurt us. So you can't internalize it. Got to get it out. So let's go these last 2 minutes. Let's talk about how to ease the pain.
Okay.
You go first.
I think you've got to a point that you just said was, get a mentor. Just don't wallow in your sorrow here. Do something about it. I think, there's a lot of great networkers out there in all the different groups that, we go to. Find yourself somebody that you connect with, and people love being a mentor. That's an honor. It's so I really do think that's it. And I'm going to give a plug here for Rob's library and start reading books on networking. We've got a great collection here of over 60 books that have got some great ideas of educating yourself, becoming a networking expert, reading other case studies and so on. And then you're going to become that expert. And I think it's going to elevate you. So
that's right. Yeah. If you're local here to DFW, stop by the meeting place, grab a book, and just sit in the lobby because you'll network while you're reading.
Yes,
that'll happen.
Exactly.
I promise. So I like the point I put on here. That's the refocus on one-to-ones. Yeah. Because sometimes when you're so say for instance you're working out and you're a long distance runner and you're just like you're getting this long muscle fatigue, go into sprints. Mm-hmm. Do the sprints, right? So you kind of have to break it up. So refocusing on one-to-ones, I have to do that sometimes because I get tired doing the group stuff and getting boxes of business cards. So I'm like, okay, Cheryl, all right, let's redirect our focus for a bit and let's go find one-to-ones and maybe a one-to-one 2.0, 3.0
Right.
with people that you really know can help bring you out of that painful funk. Keep your wallet closed. I already mentioned that. Just be careful. Really be conscious. We're going to be doing Connect Fest midway on 2/2/25, and this is going to be one of the things we're going to touch on. Because, of course, we're at Venturity Financials, so why would we be talking about finances?
Exactly.
But how to budget both your time, your money, and your energy while networking. So I think you're really good at that. This about getting into a warm market. You operate in associations and things like that, right? So,
I think, it's just being in a familiar environment, you know, surround yourself so you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So I think that's so important.
Yeah, sometimes you need the warm fuzzy. In radio, I used to have a couple of clients that were my go-to warm fuzzies. And when I was having a really, I'm going to use this crap day, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go see this I just call them up and they'd always let me come over and have some desk time. And I'm just like, okay, I'm not so bad. I can do this.
Well, it goes back to your point too on the one-on-ones is I really love how you do the one-on-ones. You're so effective at it, but you give that warm and fuzzy. And again, if you are in that funk, is just call somebody up and have a one-on-one with them.
Yep, absolutely. This last point, I just happened to pen this, right, for us to discuss, but then it came up in my last one-to-one right before we came in here, and that was, hey, I'm not getting enough from networking. It's painful. And I suggested, hey, and she said, maybe I should start taking people to lunch. And I was like, okay, it gets expensive, right? But if you do, take your $25 for your sandwich and turn it into, instead of a 1-to-1, a 1-to-3. So you have 3 other people at the table and you brainstorm and you do 1-to-1 together, right? So synergy partners.
Oh, I like that.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I like that.
You have 3 non-competitive or complementary industries, but you're all working in the same space. So now you can have kind of a round table, round robin discussion and help elevate each other with a lot of leads and maybe some, networking pain mitigation while you're doing it. So
it could be a good therapy session too, you know.
That's exactly right. So I'm going to end on this, and I know we're running out of time, but I thought I found great transition strategies. I don't know who you are, but I'm going to give you a little plug here anyway. That's what it is, greattransitionstrategies.com. And I found this, and this was a closing thought they gave. I just put, networking is painful. And this is what came up. It was fascinating, honestly. Be a consistent participant in events that are a good fit. One-time networking events rarely produce fabulous results. Being a regular allows mutually beneficial, trusting relationships to grow. I thought that was a great point to end on.
I love that. And I think that's, again, one of the success stories from mid-market is that you go there every month, and then after time, you build those relationships, and it's powerful.
Yeah, but we do have to take personal ownership, responsibility for cultivating those relationships. They're there.
Yeah.
But we have to cultivate them.
Absolutely.
So, all right. To mitigating the networking pain. Right. Cheers. Next week, we're going to talk about career pivots.
Yes.
And that's going to be a good one because we touched on it here.
Right.
But it's really, really important. So, Network Today, thank you for being with us as we take you from meeting people to
making money
faster. And we'll see you next week.